In today's episode, we've got a block that consists of medical ethics and episodes with lots of small plots. This is Best of Trek, Worst of Trek. I'm your host, Dustin Wing. Using non-FDA approved methods at 362, do no harm. Or ethics. When Worf breaks his back picking up a peanut from inside an empty styrofoam container, he falls on the only thing a Klingon can do in any situation that's not glorious combat. He wants to die. A specialist with an experimental cure that completely replaces Worf's spine comes on board. While all this is going on, the Enterprise is called on a relief mission with a ton of wounded. I'm sure this episode resonates with people that have gone through similar trauma to Worf, but this one's got kind of a weird problem. While Odo arrests Worf for assisting in his brother's suicide in Sons of Moog, when Riker goes to Picard over Worf's request for the same assistance, he's met with Jean-Luc telling him all the reasons he should kill Worf. Thankfully, Riker's got a conscience and reminds Worf his grade school-age child Alexander actually has this responsibility. When him asking his kid to kill him goes over like a fart in church, Crusher finally relents to letting Dr. Death try her technique since Worf's determined to die either way. Overall, a really good message about medical ethics. Looking inside yourself at number 361, Murderous Mishap, or Equilibrium. While Odo tries badly to use a spoon in a mixing bowl, Jadzia finds a musical talent she didn't know she had. This leads her to having visions of a masked figure she feels like she knows but doesn't. Bashir can't do anything for her, so we get to see an awesome matte painting in our first look at the Trill homeworld. Turns out the Symbiosis Commission tried to block out the memories of a murderous host that never should have gotten a symbiont from Dax's memory a century before. And the memory is killing Jadzia. Sisko figures it out and threatens to expose the secret that more Trill are capable of being joined than widely believed. This one kind of plods along through most of its run, but this episode sets up most of what we know about the Trill, using Nazi medical research at 360, trial and error, or nothing human. When a strange creature latches onto B'Elanna to save its own life, the Doctor conjures up a holographic helper that knows more about organisms like this. Out pops a Cardassian doctor that it turns out experimented on thousands of patients just to find cures for diseases. This forces Janeway to have to choose between losing B'Elanna and using knowledge gained through non-ethical research to save her. In a Tuvok sort of situation, she goes with the latter, but the Doctor promptly deletes Krell Masset at the end of this ethical journey. A really interesting exploration in the ethics of medical knowledge. Slowly becoming a machine at 359, Robo-Burial. Or life support. After a bombing on a Bajoran transport, Kai Wynn and a dying Burial come to Deep Space Nine. They were supposed to meet with Cardassian officials about bringing formal peace and reparations between their people. Julian brings Antos back by some miracle, but as the episode progresses, they replace half of his brain with a computer. When the other half fails, Kira begs Bashir to replace his whole brain. And this is where medical ethics comes into play. At what point are you no longer you? This is one of a few tragic endings done right in Star Trek. The B-plot is pretty mediocrely bad about Jake having Lisa Turtle as a girlfriend and Nog insults his double date just being a Ferengi. In the end, Jake has Odo lock them up together to repair their friendship, but the charge Odo dreams up doesn't make sense. He accuses them of breaking into the Tholian ambassador's quarters. Tholians require a temperature of hundreds of degrees to survive. Making repairs at 358, payment due. Or dead stop. After Reed almost losing his leg to a Romulan mine in the previous episode, Enterprise is in bad shape and is lucky to be directed to a seemingly abandoned repair station that magically repairs all parts of the ship, including Malcolm's leg, for the low price of warp plasma. The AI built into the station has an ulterior motive of harvesting people to enhance its computing abilities. And in this case, Travis must suffer. This one's a bit drawn out at times, but I don't honestly have anything bad to say about it. Roxanne Dawson, as director and computer voice, did a really great job for Enterprise overall not so great second season. Rekindling old flames at 357. Quarks' Lost Love, or Profit and Loss. We get a look at the rarely seen sweet and generous side of Quark. When his lost Cardassian love comes back through the station while chased by Cardassian military, he offers her students a cloaking device in exchange for her staying. In the end, she leaves anyway and gets the cloaking device, shooting Quark in the process. This one again reminds us that Garrick still has some dealing with Cardassia, even in exile, when he's hired to take out Quark's love and then ends up helping her in the end. Some wonderful character development throughout. Overcoming obstacles at 356. Captain Picard Day. Or Disaster. When the Enterprise loses almost all power, Troy is de facto in command. Picard gets to deal with his least favorite thing, children. Keiko goes into labor with Worf as her midwife, and Data has to sacrifice his body so that his head may survive. All at the hands of a quantum filament. There's some badly needed character development for Troy, which is pretty much negated by the Frere Jacques that comes out of the otherwise cool Captain Picard Day. The amount of hokey ridiculousness in this one is balanced out by some solid character beats, and there's something for everyone in this episode. Coming into the larger world at 355, Rambly Cathy, or Macrocosm. Much like the last entry, this one is just pure middle of the road, has some things wrong with it, but is also a ton of fun to watch. During unsuccessful negotiations, Janeway has to endure Neelix gesturing to the poorly named race, the Tic Tac. When they get back to Voyager, she does her best Sarah Connor impression, and she hunts down viruses that have grown to the size of dogs, roaming the ship and infecting the crew. Her classic Trek protocol, the Doctor fixes the situation before the crew dies, and we get to see Janeway at her best. Dealing with millions of casualties at 354, Atrocity. Or The Expanse. I would normally say this one doesn't know what it wants to be when it grows up, but nay, it knows it's setting up the entire next season's arc, though somehow needed extra distractions to fill the runtime. When the most perfect place in the world to be hit by alien weapons, Florida, has an orbital laser cut it in half, Enterprise is recalled to Earth. On the way, Suliban board the ship and take Jonathan to see the man behind the curtain, who tells him about the Xindi and their help from the future. Is this when Silic gets on board and just quietly stows away until the start of season 4? Because we can't actually get on with the main part of the plot, they're also attacked by Klingons just outside Earth's solar system. Thankfully, other Starfleet ships help drive the original iteration of the disgraced House of Duras off. Enterprise gets refit, and Archer gets briefed on how this region of space they're going to doesn't follow the known laws of physics and has been known to cause psychosis in Vulcans. That doesn't stop him or the Klingons from chasing them all the way to the Expanse so Klingon Ahab can hunt his white captain. While it does an adequate job of setting up season 3, this one is all over the place, and not the most cohesive script in the franchise. Some great acting and line delivery across the cast, though. Having something to prove at 353. Duty. Or Valiant. As Ensign Nog and Jake take a runabout to Ferenginar, they come under attack by the Jem'Hadar, only to be saved by the USS Valiant. Has anyone else noticed how much money they tried to save on sets in the last 2 seasons? A rearranged Defiant, a duplicate station to DS9. Anyway, it turns out the ship is run by the Red Squad cadets Admiral Layton, shipped off-world before they could fully reveal that they caused the power outage on Earth. Captain Waters is a wannabe Kirk with a drug addiction, and his first officer is a literal Karen. Nog gets swept up in the Red Squad mystique as they go up against the Dominion battlecruiser they have no chance against. I understand the ship is under radio silence, but Worf says the Valiant was reported missing months ago. Why would Starfleet still be sending orders to a ship they're not sure still exists? I really like the ending, calling back to Chief O'Brien once saying to Nog that if he had to take command, there'd be nobody left. And with the exception of Chief Dorian, it's time to abandon ship. This one's a bit over the top at times, but a really fun look at what duty actually means.
Ah, computer.
That program is available.
Thanks, Major. Major. Thanks, Major. Major.
Transfer complete.
Thanks, Major.